Welcome to today's video. If you've been curious about Texas tax deeds, you're in the right place. I've invited Kay Ashizawa, an experienced, licensed Texas attorney and property investor, to break down the process. Kay has helped countless investors navigate Texas tax sales, even used her own tax deed monies to invest in funds for her education at the Harvard Kennedy School. She's here to share what you need to know and approach these opportunities with confidence and clarity. Let's get started.
I am very excited to talk to you today about the Texas tax deed process. I am attorney Kay Ashizawa. You can find me at keilaw.com. I represent lots of builders, real estate investors, and even public entities, and a lot of them do engage in the Texas tax deed process. And I personally have also gone to auctions and purchased properties. In fact, one parcel in particular, I was able to sell and finance most of the living expenses I needed for my master's at the Harvard Kennedy School. So I have found it to be a lucrative process, and I hope that you will find this information useful. But before we move on, a quick disclaimer: this is not legal advice. I'm not your lawyer. This is intended for informational purposes only. You need to do more homework than this. If you need counsel, you should retain it.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Using a tax deed investment to help finance your living expenses at the Harvard Kennedy School is such an inspiring example of what's possible with this process. It really shows how powerful these opportunities can be with the right knowledge and strategy. Next, Kay is going to walk you through how the delinquent property process gets started in Texas. Pay close attention because she's sharing a key insight that can give you a competitive advantage when bidding at Texas tax sales, which are really auctions. Timing, strategy, and understanding the process can make all the difference. Kay is about to break it down for us right now.
There are a lot of ins and outs of the Texas tax deed process, and we can't cover everything today, and every circumstance is a little different. So let's talk about the Texas tax lien. Of course, you know, a property owner that is delinquent in paying their property taxes can have a lien put onto their property by the taxing authority. And then when they do, a judicial process is undertaken, usually by a law firm service provider for the taxing authority, especially in larger counties. And that authority has to give the taxpayer notice that the taxes are delinquent, and if they remain unpaid, that the lien may be foreclosed upon. Oftentimes, the notice is delivered by mail, but if a taxpayer can't be found, they do it through publication, like through a newspaper. Once the judgment is granted, an officer is charged with selling the property, then must give notice of the sale, which includes a statement of their authority, the date, time, and place of the sale, and a description of the property. Texas property tax sales always take place on the first Tuesday of the month. Unless it's New Year's or the 4th of July, then they just do it the next day on Wednesday. I always like to take into consideration the timing of the first Tuesday and how holidays, school calendars, and other external factors might impact who shows up at the auction, who my competing bidders will be. So if you think there's a lot of people out of town, it might be a good time to show up. But then again, you never know what's going to be on the roll that month. So it's definitely, you have to take the whole picture into consideration.
My second question is one of the biggest concerns investors have. What happens to the other liens on the property after the tax deed auction process? Can you walk us through which liens get wiped out, which remain, and how to handle potential issues with title companies?
So now that you have your deed and it's been recorded, what does that mean for the other liens that might have been on the property? Well, when it comes to liens, you should know that the subordinate liens are also extinguished as a matter of law. So what gets wiped out, what doesn't? Well, the Texas title standards tell us and show us that a tax lien is superior to any mortgage, judgment, other lien, or homestead right. So upon foreclosure, the subordinate liens, including federal tax liens, are extinguished as a matter of law. However, some restrictive covenants may remain, but this does mean that the prior mortgage, or in Texas called the deed of trust, is wiped out or extinguished, as are a vast array of other liens. What I've typically run into when representing clients who have taken interest in a property after a tax deed is that when they go to sell the property, their title company usually doesn't know what's up, and they The title company will go in and return any lien that's of record that does not have a lien release filed as well. And instead of saying, oh, well, these were clearly extinguished as a matter of law, then they start saying, oh, these other liens are still existing on the property. Well, they aren't. You'll get an old grass cutting lien or something like that encumbering the property, and you can point them to the law that says, this was extinguished as a matter of law. You can also go back to the law firm or whomever helped initiate the foreclosure process and ask them for a release letter, which is sometimes reportable, sometimes not, but often adds enough evidence for the title company to move forward without any concern for those existing liens.
Folks, I can't tell you how often people don't believe me when I say the mortgage gets wiped out. But you just heard it straight from an experienced auction buyer and Texas attorney at law. Knowing this, along with how to handle any lingering title issues, can save you so much time and money as a tax deed investor. My last question is about the right of redemption. It's a big deal with Texas tax deeds, especially with the high premiums investors can earn. Kay is going to explain how it works, the timelines involved, and what kind of returns people can expect during this period.
The right of redemption. After foreclosure for unpaid taxes, the former owner of homestead or agricultural property has a 2-year right of redemption. Okay, that means if the foreclosure was on somebody's home or if it was an agricultural property, which is defined in the statute, then even if they were foreclosed upon, they have 2 full years to come back and pay you back and say, give me my property back. If they come to you within the first year, they will pay you back everything that you paid plus a premium of 25%. If they come back within the second year, they will pay you back everything that you paid plus 50%. You can also include certain costs that you needed to make sure the property is insured and meets all the code and ordinance requirements. But it does not cover if you built a $5 million mansion. They're not going to pay you back for the mansion you built within the 2-year redemption period. So it's in your best interest not to make any major improvements until the redemption period has lapsed. If it's not a homestead property or an agricultural property, for other properties, the redemption period is a mere 180 days. So after that 180 days, you're in the clear. And a lot of these foreclosure properties tend to be non-homestead properties. That's why they had the problems paying them in the first place. But some of them are. So you have to know what kind of property it is that you're looking at. Again, do your due diligence.
What an incredible session. Kay shared so much valuable insight today, from understanding how the Texas tax deed process begins to the power of extinguishing liens, even the right of redemption that can earn you 25% of the total if the property owner redeemed during the first 6 months, and 50% if redeemed during the second year. If you're thinking about investing in Texas tax deeds, you may want to rewatch this video and make the most of these opportunities. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the button and subscribe for more expert advice just like this. Let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway was. And if you have more questions about Texas tax deeds, I'll cover them in future videos.